Hey guys, hey. I hope everyone's doing well. And right now, my son is actually outside playing, so I've got a little bit of time here to be able to focus on doing a practice with you. So, I was thinking today when I was getting ready to film this class, it's like I don't have any, you know, secret potion or anything like that. um, to get my own self through this time, let alone really anyone else, other than what we're trying to do here, which is, really just practice, be, and breathe. And, when we started this journey several weeks ago of being in shelter, being in quarantine, at that time, it was very shocking for me, and I'm sure it was very shocking for many of you. And that was a lot of what, was coming up for me when we were doing this class, and I was sharing with you guys, was just that, I was really doing my best to receive what I felt was God's guidance and His insights related to me and my life. And I feel like, it hit me very hard initially, and some of those things I was receiving insights about, as I know I mentioned, one of those things was about a past relationship that I had been in, and a place where truth needed to exist in that relationship. And then, also just my own, my own judgment of myself, and then how I was perceiving that was then being reflected back to me. And I do believe a lot of it was in me, but it was places that I needed to heal in myself, and also changes I needed to make in my life, adjustments I needed to make in my life related to things that I was doing. So I have made those changes, and as a result, everything has shifted in a better way. I also noticed where I was being judgmental of others, and I think I mentioned that as well. And where I needed to not be judgmental and be loving and understanding, and and practice what I preach. So I've been working to do all that, and I've been doing that, not just on a level within my little community, but also just with family and anywhere I can. So that's what's been going on with me. I think that it's interesting to me that we could be in this for quite a while longer. And so I know that we all, I think, want to believe it'll be, April 30th, May 1st, whatever they've said. I'm so prayerful that it can be done sooner, but I'm also feeling deep into my heart and, imagining that it could be really another couple months. Because, I don't think that they'll be opening the schools back up, and so they probably won't do much out in the world either if the schools are closed. So that would take us through May. And I'm as anxious as the rest of you guys, for everything we long for. So, but at the same time, I know that this is a deep period of healing. And as I said before, it's been an involuntary Lent season. And truth be told, I've never really been one to fully engage with Lent in my life, and to give something up for, that period of time. Maybe many years back I did, but it's been a long while since I've done that. And I know those things can sometimes seem trivial. So like, you give up a favorite food or things like that. Coffee, potato chips, whatever it is. But we all got to have this, put upon us really against our will. And again, there is that inner struggle for me where I feel, just that it's been put upon us against our will. So I feel both, to some degree, some gratitude, because I almost appreciate that the inner conflict of choice has been removed from the situation, or free will. I know it's bringing me into a deep cycle of healing and rejuvenative healing, so literally physical healing, just through abstinence, whatever the things are that we're abstaining from. And yet, of course, there's some resistance. There's inner resistance to it as well, right? But I think I've been interested to see that internal struggle that exists, and so it's a lesson that I'm getting to see in myself, and maybe where I don't choose what's best for myself, and so every time that I realize I don't even have a choice right now, of course we all have choice, but I'm going to choose what's best, then there's a freedom and a healing that comes in that. So anyhow, so that's all I've got. Our next class, I do want our next class to be a Zoom class, and so I really need to see you guys, and so I can't promise that it'll be at 7 a.m., but it'll be when the Spirit lets it be. So we'll do that, and but I'm just so grateful for our community, and I so long for connection. So when we go through this practice together, I hope that you can feel, those of you guys who have gotten to be in my class before, feel as though I'm giving you an adjustment in a pose. Feel that we're there with each other, and we're connecting, and really, loving and supporting one another. So God bless all of us, and His healing for all of us, and our hearts and our minds and our world. I do think that this is just an incredibly revolutionary time, and the future will not look like the past. So and that probably is a good thing. So as we continue to evolve as people and in our country and everything, it's the direction that it's going to take us will be very interesting. But I do believe in our ability in this country to find our way and to evolve. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about us, is that we are one nation under God. I just said the Pledge of Allegiance with my son the other day for school. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I mean, that is a very unique and powerful and amazing declaration. And so we're blessed. We're so lucky. We're going to find our way. Our country's going to find our way. I was saying to friends, I actually live in an area of Ohio where I'm not too far from Amish country. I didn't know that when I moved here, but I've always had this infatuation with the Amish culture. And actually, when I was a little girl, we had a lady who came to our house and cleaned, and she was Amish, and I got to go to her wedding, probably when I was like 10 years old. And it was fascinating. And I have like two memories from that. Being in a barn, and we were all supposed to not look at each other, so we were supposed to look down during the ceremony. And then, women on one side, men on the other side. And then afterwards, we actually got to go to her house and have a meal and have the dinner. And I remember orange tapioca pudding. Then, interestingly, just a few years back, I was working for a company at that time in Northeast Ohio, and they had some different manufacturing plants and facilities. And one of their plants was in Amish country, and it was actually run by Amish people. And so even at our Christmas party, they had Amish people came to the Christmas party. Now, we joked because some of them did have cell phones and things like that because they were working for a company. And so, they had to be relaxed in certain areas where they maybe otherwise wouldn't have. But I've always had this infatuation with that culture because, look, it's here we are in this modern world, and probably 2 miles from me, there are Amish people. There's a restaurant that's run by Amish people. I haven't been to it yet, but and I'm not far from Columbus, Ohio. I'm not. I'm like 30 minutes. But you find in this area of the country, you find these pockets of Amish, whether it's Pennsylvania or Ohio, and it's just beautiful and it's lovely. And so I would get to go to our plants sometimes, and at that time I was the wellness coordinator for this company, and I get to talk with the people, and it's just beautiful country when you get out into those areas, and it's just fascinating to see the Amish. And I mean, miles and miles of Amish culture and civilization. You know, you see the horse-drawn buggies and so forth. And, you know, what you realize is that we are just have a tremendous ability to, I mean, and I'm fascinated by that culture because of, you know, look, they've withstood the test of time, right? They live off the land. You know, they've been able to even stay protected in this modern world, you know, that's just grown up all around them. And here they are, they've been able to carve out that part of that culture for themselves, but also, you know, you look at something like this, it doesn't mean they're not affected by it. Of course, you know, with the contagion of the coronavirus, of course, you know, anybody can get it, but it's like they don't have the same fears that we have, you know, related to economy and things like that. And so I just think that that's interesting. So, you know, it just restores my faith in knowing that we will find our way. And, you know, these times are unprecedented and we don't know what the future looks like. It's interesting, isn't it? Sort of how we all just assumed we know kind of the way forward, more or less. You know, it's going to look not drastically different from the past, a little, but it'll evolve over time. We don't really know that now. You know, of course I do think things will get back to normal and it won't just be this drastically different world. But, you know, it's going to be how the future shapes itself, again, not only in our country, but just globally, how that all evolves over time, how we become, you know, in my opinion, a more self-sufficient nation, where we don't feel the threats of not having what we need, you know. So anyhow, so when I think about all of that, I think about, you know, the people that have remained untouched and they are self-sufficient. So we have it in ourselves to be that. So let's remember that as well, you know, that we're okay. And I joked, I said, if I, depending on how this goes, I might start to, you know, I'm joking, but I might like, you know, maybe go see if I can marry myself an Amish guy. I'm totally joking. I'm probably going to be struck down with lightning for saying that. But just, I mean, you know, I'm making jokes because never know. I don't think I'm allowed to be accepted into that culture since I wasn't born into it. I'm pretty sure I can't. So, and I'm totally joking. But yeah, you know, we are blessed. We are, and we're going to get through it. And you know, I just have tremendous gratitude to our God, our Creator, our country we live in. We are just mind-blowingly fortunate, you know, that we live in this nation and of goodwill. And that is a unique thing. And, you know, actually it reminds me of the teachings that I studied for so long, Yogananda, who was the founder of Self-Realization Fellowship. And it teaches the teachings of Christ, but it's very focused on meditation. And that's really what he was. He was a meditation teacher. And he died in the 1950s and had a lot of his locations in California, beautiful sanctuaries of worship and monasteries. And so I actually went to one time and did a silent meditation retreat for 3 days. That was fascinating. But one of the things he would say is that, you know, there are souls, and whether you believe this or not, but just souls lined up wanting to be born in this country. You know, so if you have any of that belief system that we, you know, choose our parents before we come into this world, I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what I believe is true, but these are just, you know, some of the philosophies that exist out there. But one of the things he would say is that there are just souls lined up wanting to be born in this country. And, you know, so consider yourself one of the lucky ones. I think we all do, but, you know, that is we are we are so blessed. So, namaste. I'm going to start the practice. Okay.